Well, hello and welcome to the new video, and this time what we have here is the new facelifted Peugeot 508. So as you can see from the front, there is a new design to this facelift, particularly the more compact lights with a shorter sort of these LED stripes that it has. Also a slightly bigger grille. It's actually a very cool looking grille. I really do like this, and it's a very good looking car, this Peugeot 508. Even despite the name starting with 5, it is a competitor to the cars like Audi A4, BMW 3 Series, not the 5 Series or something like this. So this is the Allure variant, which in my country is the basic model, basically. And so what we have here is still pretty good equipment, which we will talk you through later. But what we have here now are these small 17-inch wheels. You can go up to, I think, 19 or 20-inch wheels. These 17-inch wheels, they run the tires of 215, 55 R17. And let me just have a look. There is a really very slight positive cast, about 1.5 degree. Could be slightly more. Now, the wheelbase is at 2.79 meters, so 2.8 meters, which is really not bad. And if we look at the conception of the car from the side profile, the passengers, they are seated somewhere around here. So I would say it's rather close to the front wheels. They could be seated even further back if the conception could be improved in this way. Anyway, let's go to the rear. The suspension setup is McPherson in the front, multilink at the rear, and here at the rear we have a quite visible toe out of the wheels, and also a negative camber, but the car is running more negative camber there on the front. But this toe out at the rear, it helps with the stability when cornering. So that's really good, and it's very important because the car is not lightweight. It's rather heavy, as every plug-in hybrid. It weighs at 1,811 kilos. Okay, and now coming to the rear of the car, there is again a design change. The most noticeable is that we don't have a badge, but we have this sort of lettering of the brand Peugeot at the back. But other than that, also a slightly new signature of the lights, but the structure is more or less the same. Now to the boot, which is electrically controlled even in this sort of a base pack. There are now two equipment levels, Allure and GT line. And we have this 487 liters, I think, boot in a standard capacity. And actually, I think it's pretty decent for this car, really, in terms of size. You also have some side netting there, and a 12-volt socket here. And if you put the seats down, it's around 1,500 and something liters. So I think very reasonable. What I like about it is this sort of a lift back opening of the boot, not the sedan. So you have a massive access to the boot. So that's great. And you can also close it with your feet, which not always works. You need to learn it. Now it worked. Look at this. Pretty cool. And this is the plug-in hybrid variant. So we have a new badging here, hybrid, like a full name. Before there was only the two starting letters. Now let's have a look into the rear. By the way, on this side you charge the car, on the other side you fill it up. And another typical Peugeot 508 feature, very luxurious, frameless doors, just like Audi cars, Audi A5, Volkswagen R10, something like this. Very cool, frameless doors. So now let's have a look and let's see what sort of space is here in the back. And I have to say it's rather decent in here. So you have decent knee room. For the feet it could be slightly better, but I have the seat on its lowest position, and it's a really very low position of sitting, and on your head is just about right if I lean to the back. So yeah, and then in terms of practicality here at the back, so you have a folding armrest with open cup holders. You have two USB-A ports here at the back, and of course ventilation and some very exquisite LED lights here in the back. So I think in the back it feels very sort of a compact, rather luxurious, and certainly comparable to the likes of BMW 3 Series and stuff like this. So yeah, I think rather cool. And now let's have a look at the powertrain. But here is maybe the conception of the car. So look, there are the wheels. Here is where you are sitting as a driver. And there is also a small problem, just like there was with the Alfa Romeo Giulio, that look at this space in between the steering wheel and the B-pillar. So if you want to get in and out of, sometimes it's rather uncomfortable because you're rubbing your shoulder over there. So yeah. Okay, now let's have a look at the engine. So this is the lower specification powertrain of the hybrid or petrol variant. So you can buy the car with this plug-in hybrid or a diesel engine. This plug-in hybrid, you have this 180 horsepower one, you have a more powerful 225 horsepower one, and then you have a 130 horsepower diesel. And the top of the Ranger is a sports model PSE, of course, which is something completely different from this car in all sorts of ways. So this is the 181. So we have a 1.6 HP producing 150 horsepower, but together with the electric motor, which is part of the gear in between the gearbox and the engine, it gives us together 180 horsepower and 360 newton meters of torque, and it's connected to the 8-speed automatic transmission from Aisin. This is a really very smooth transition, very fast. It's really good transmission actually. And now that we are here in the engine bay, I would like to show you that the engine is lying in front of the front wheels, in front of the front axle. So that's the part of the conception, and you have a turbo mounted in the front, and it looks quite busy here in the engine bay. I have to say, it really looks, from a mechanical standpoint, like if you're a mechanic and want to work on this car, it really looks rather busy. There's lots going on really in here, right? So yeah, I think that will be about it to the closer look at the Peugeot 508. And now let's take it further down the road and let's talk about the driving experience. Well, hello and welcome to the facelifted Peugeot 508. And well, welcome to the interior. Let me talk you through. So we still have a very typical Peugeot 508 interior. It's pretty much almost unchanged. We still have these beautiful frameless doors, which are sort of a coupage and looks very cool, and make this car sort of a competitor to the cars like Audi A5 Sportback and the Volkswagen Arteon. So yeah, really nice in this design regard. And also the interior, this iCockpit of Peugeot, I mean, it's not getting old. It's still a fantastic looking interior with this small steering wheel dominated to the interior. Then you have the screen rotated to the driver. You have these shortcuts buttons like on a piano, which is very cool. And then underneath there are some touch buttons for the heating of the seat, heating of the windscreen and stuff like this. And then here in the central panel you have some storage area, quite deep actually, narrow and deep, 12-volt socket inside there. Start button, drive mode selector, both of which you really have to press like you mean it. That's the thing in these Stellantis cars, you really do have to press them like you mean it, very hard. And then the selector for the gearbox, electronic parking handbrake, 2 cup holders with also an ambient lighting inside, which is kind of cool, and a double opening armrest, which is quite deep actually, look at this. And inside you have 2 USB-C connectors. One is for charging, one is for multimedia in the car. And then hidden here in the central panel is a cable for wireless charging of the phone if you needed it. And all of this is in this Allure specification. So basically there are only 2 now. One is this Allure and the other is a top line called GT line. And then of course the Peugeot 508 PSE is a completely different car. It's a sports version. It's a top notch of a car. Then in front of me here is a typical Peugeot driver's display with many settings, many design settings that you can opt. The one I have here is called energy, so I see what amount of battery I'm having and the speed and stuff. Then also about the interior, I like these stiffly mounted pedals for changing the gears. Some people like them on the steering wheel. I really don't mind them having them here. And here on the left side from the steering wheel, you open the fuel tank, and you open the boot also, and you turn off the sort of a lane assist maybe. But yeah, anyway, so car is now on. What you need to do every time you step inside the car is turning off the lane assist and the speed recognition system, both of which I have done. You just have to press it and then say yes, I want to turn them off. And then you could also turn off the traction control system, but it always gets turned on above 50 km/h, so it's basically meaningless to turn it off. Anyway, let's start driving the car. Oh, I need to turn it on. Okay. So as you might have recognized so far, as I was talking about the interior, this is a plug-in hybrid model. So the engines for this car are like 2 plug-in hybrids and a diesel, which I think is the most sought after, this diesel engine. But this plug-in hybrid is not bad at all. So we have a 1.6 as usual turbo and an electric engine motor, which is mounted in between the engine, the ICE, and the gearbox. Oh, sorry for this, there's just some big grass. Giving us together 180 horsepower and 360 Newton meters of torque. Of course, you can even go for the more powerful one, which gives you 225 horsepower, which is quite a lot. So yeah, I think very decent, and it's connected. It's a front-wheel drive, of course, and it's connected with the 8-speed automatic transmission from Aisin, which is a great transmission, really fast, keeps the RPM really low on the motorway. Yeah, good transmission. Then, in terms of the conception of the car and the suspension, what I like is that I'm sitting quite far behind the front wheels. Although, at looking at the car and also feeling from the driving, I could be sitting even further rear, like the seats to be positioned. That would be even better. But to the way the car is designed, this is actually okay. Then in terms of suspension, we have McPherson and Multilink, which is a usual setup. Many car manufacturers nowadays have let go from the double wishbone in the front, although I think it would be maybe a better solution for cornering. But we have this McPherson in the front, and in this car we don't have the adaptive damping system, which you can opt for. Yeah, but we have a standard suspension. So now, in this facelifted car, we have a 12.4 kilowatt-hour battery, which is mounted under the rear seat, and it's giving you the range in the city of up to 64 kilometers, which you can achieve when you are driving very consciously. So it's saving you fuel in the city, and that's the meaning behind the plug-in hybrid, right? But the good thing about this efficiency, by the way, to the efficiency of this electric, when you're driving on electric powertrain, you can drive in between the 15.5 to 16.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, so really good energy consumption. But the overall consumption that you can achieve is actually really good. So I have this long time consumption of 5.5 liters only, and I was driving motorways at low speed, like according to law, and also quite fast, like 160, 170, and still the average is 5.5, which is really good, right? And then I can even check here that 33% there was before, 46% of my driving was done on electric. So I find it really rather cool, and yeah, I get the sense that it actually saves you fuel and this electric powertrain. And also back to the consumption, so on the way to my usual destination, which is mostly motorway, but I also try to combine the B-roads into there. I did 5.2 consumption, and that is a diesel consumption, 5.2. So yeah, really, really cool. Maybe the only disadvantage of this sort of a powertrain is that for the petrol engine, the fuel tank is quite small. I think it's around 45 liters, and yeah, it seems to be quite small. The range that you do actually on the engine is like just over 500 kilometers, I think, right? Maybe I can check it. Let's see. Okay, so more. I did 549 kilometers up until now, and I still have 120 kilometers left. So yeah, but from the experience of also other manufacturers, it feels rather small, to be honest. But yeah, now maybe let's come to the suspension, which in a normal driving is really rather nice and comfortable. They went for a comfort setup, but you still have quite a good feedback from the car, from the steering, thanks to the positive caster the car is running, which is quite good. But yeah, but the dampers themselves are quite soft, particularly in the front. So when you're going through the compression, the car feels like landing on the front. So it goes very nicely controlled in the back, and then this sort of a woof landing to the front wheels. So, and there isn't that much of a bounce like there is, for example, in a Skoda Octavia with standard suspension, or a Skoda Superb. So it's much better in this regard. But just for you to know, it is quite soft, right? And then for the cornering, hang on, now I need to concentrate. Let's take this. Then for cornering, so as I said, we have a McPherson and multi-link setup. But we also have, in terms of the setup of the wheels, we are running more negative camber on the front axle than on the rear, but also on the rear it is quite visible. And on the rear, the car has a very visible toe out, which is good for stability in the high-speed cornering, or if you're throwing the car, and helps the agility of the car. So I think the Peugeot engineers, they really have set up the car quite well, also for cornering purposes. Of course, if you are looking like me for a driver's sort of a driver's feeling in a car, I would definitely go for the adaptive damping, because that would give you an even more controlled ride, even more controlled body on the bumpy roads that we are having. And when you're cornering, when there is a bump in the corner or compression, it will be much more controlled. But other than that, I have to say they've really done a very good job. In terms of the conception itself, so you have the engine mounted in front of the front wheels, and that's what I was telling, that where I am sitting. For example, some of its competitors like Mazda 6, you can see it even further down, because the whole conception and even the design language of that car is more biased towards the rear, where this is somewhere like being in the middle. The roof is somewhere in the middle of the car, right? So that's what I meant. So if there was a change, you could be sitting even further back, further rear. And now also to the comfort, this is an extremely quiet car. At 130 kilometers, I measured in between 57 to 59 decibels. Extremely quiet. What helps it, apart from the acoustic isolation, is a great aerodynamic efficiency, which in the original car was 0.26 in the sedan saloon variant. But here I think, I didn't find the correct number, but I suppose it's like 0.24, 0.25, and it also helps this great consumption that the car achieves. So really great. And from a user perspective, yeah, I think it's quite nice, because you have this beautiful interior which looks very futuristic, has a good use of materials, very soft sort of a plastic everywhere around you, so really good in this area. Very high quality displays, high quality cameras. In this infotainment you have a sort of these apps all in one place, so that is a new thing that I like about it. But yeah, I think it's actually quite a nice car using day to day. Maybe now that leads me to the likes and dislikes. So I had a few problems with the sitting position, which I otherwise like because it's really low. You're sitting like in a sports car, really low. I really do like that. But this space in between the steering wheel and the B pillar, look, I'm sitting already behind the B pillar, and this space is so narrow that when you're stepping in and out, and you're quite a big guy, which I quite am, you are rubbing your shoulders around there, and sometimes it is rather uncomfortable to get in and out of. So that's the problem I was having. Then another problem I had, well, I really do like the dynamics of the car. If you put it in the sports mode and you have all of these 180 horsepower, you really don't feel the need to even have more. It's really decent for overtaking and stuff, and I like these paddles here. But what I had a problem with the gearbox is that you cannot take full control of the car. If you, for example, if you change for a higher gear, or if you want to keep the gear in the higher RPM for longer, the car will just change the gear itself, and it doesn't care about you, the gearbox. So that was maybe the problem I was having, right? So yeah, and then, well, to someone, or maybe if I was comparing the car to some other cars, this standard suspension from the driver's point of view is not the most driver focused. It's really more set up for comfort. So if you're looking for a driver's car, you should definitely opt for the adaptive suspension, where you can choose the sport setting and you have a better body control of the car, right? And well, the price, around 50,000 euros. I think it's what these cars cost nowadays, so I don't see a problem in that, right? And the charging goes through the AC adapter up to 3.7 kilowatts, and you can get the car charged from 0 to 100 in around 1 hour and 55 minutes, which is okay. I mean, it's very usual, but more and more plug-in hybrids are coming with the fast charging option, and I think maybe to the future Peugeot could do it as well. And then let's come to the likes of the car. Well, in between the likes is the comfort of the car, and that is all sorts of things together. So the quietness, the materials used, the sitting position here in the car, yeah, and the setup of the suspension, which is just floating like it's usual with French cars. It's just very nice and comfortable, right? So yeah, I do quite like that. Oh, what we have here? Yeah, so that's what I like about the car. Then I also have to say big like to the engineers for the way they did the kinematics of the suspension and the geometry of the wheels. They've done a really good job. The car is really turning in nicely. It has a precise communicative steering. It's really stable in the corners. So yeah, I think a lovely job in this regard. And I also have to say the design definitely feels very premium. I even drove my friend, and he said, well, this car looks very luxurious. It looks really great. So definitely a competitor to the cars like Audi or BMW in this design regard. So I think, yeah, quite a decent car. And if you're looking after something like this, well, you should definitely take it for a test drive and see yourself. It's a very good car in this class. Although I think most people will get this car with a diesel engine, because you still get great consumption, but you have a bigger tank, and many people just like that they still can have this IC internal combustion, and they don't have to worry about this electric charging stuff, right? Because when you're not charging the car, it drives for a slightly higher fuel consumption. So on the motorway, around 6.7 liters. So yeah. Anyway, that would be it to the Peugeot 508 facelift, which I actually quite like. And well, more videos are coming on very soon, so keep watching, keep subscribing, and I hope to see you in the very next video. In the meantime, take care and goodbye. Okay, so let's see the dynamics here. If as we turn on this B road here, the Audi is cutting it in front of me. Okay, so we're 180 horsepower. Let's see how we can overtake him. We're in 4th gear. Let's go into 3rd. Bank. 90, 100, 110, 120. Really, you see really good dynamics from this car. Wow, this thing pulls. Woo! It may weigh 1800 kilos and have to this weight only 180 horsepower, which gives it a power to weight ratio of 100 horsepower per ton, but it pulls nice. And now let's come to the corners. Nice, there is a slight draw, but it's okay. But it feels very balanced, and the rear is just so stiff. Like I meant stable, really good. Wow.